Who's there?
Who could forget the classic episode of Who Shot JR? It was among the most watched TV episodes of all time. One of those Dallasites enjoying the fame of the Dallas TV show is Dallas columnist turned author Nancy Smith. We are here with her today to talk about your new book, Dallas International with J.R. Ewing.
Oh, thank you, Emily.
Oh, Nancy, it's a real pleasure to meet you because you are a legend in your own right.
Oh, I don't think so, but that's nice of you to say.
Well, you have been writing about the Dallas TV show and about Dallas society and celebrity for how many years now?
Well, since 1977.
Since 1977.
I was at the Dallas Morning News, and about a year later, the cast of Dallas came to Dallas. And after that, the rest was history, because all those years, everything just mushroomed and mushroomed to the fact that there were 49 figures, royal and noble figures, who came to Dallas between then and 1991. So it was like an amazing time in Dallas, and all the celebrities naturally flocked to Dallas, and that became the norm for all those years. And so that, to me, is the most glamorous period that Dallas has ever experienced, and I hope that it will revive the same level, because it was so exciting. You could do something every single minute of the day, and you never knew what to expect.
Well, that's what I've heard is that, you know, you have Dallas twice a week in terms of you have the Dallas Cowboys and then you have the Dallas TV show, you know, shown across the nation and across the world.
Exactly.
And the Dallas TV show I mean, obviously I'm British, and every Sunday night we had to sit down with our dinners on our laps and we could, you know, watch Dallas that night. And so everybody just loves it, and you got to live it.
Well, you know, in the very beginning, though, people in Dallas really did not think it was going to last more than a season or two. So there were a lot of problems, including trying to find a South Fork, because they contacted the head of the Dallas Chamber of Commerce, and he put them in contact with Donald Mitchell, who did watercolors all over Dallas. And so he contacted first Trammell and Margaret Crow, and they said no, they didn't think that they wanted their house to be used for the Ewings. So then they went to Jess and Betty Jo Hay. Then they went to Ted and Annette Strauss, and they actually wrote a $25,000 check to them. And so Ted came home that night and said, no, I don't want to see all these TV cameras all over the house. Forget it, you're out of here. Yeah. So then they went to Cloyce Fox's, and he thought, okay, but he had a magnificent house in Frisco, but he started hearing about all the stories of the oil men's chicanery, and he said, oh no, the Dallas men are not like that at all. So then they had to go to a house on Park Lane that was owned by Jackie and Bruce Calder to get the interiors, and they quickly duplicated them in Hollywood because they weren't sure how quickly they would be kicked out of that too. So then they went to the Aldrich House, and after that they finally found J.R. Duncan out there in Parker, Texas, and he had his own agenda in mind because he was going to sell tickets for everybody to see, and he turned it into a slight sideshow. So up and down during the whole series, they would almost decide to burn down South Fork in case JR refused to cooperate anymore, and JR would come around and they would come to terms and compromise. So all that went on off and on for 10 years.
How funny. And you had a front row seat being one of the key columnists at the time. And I mean, so you were very good friends with Larry Hagman.
Well, from the very beginning, Larry Hagman was known around Dallas because his mother, Mary Martin, and he had been from Weatherford. And so he was just known as a good old boy, but mainly as the astronaut. In fact, when he applied for a house, they had been staying at the North Park Inn, which was hardly suitable. It was like a third-rate Holiday Inn. Right. And so when they applied to actually have a real house, Doug and Ginger Simmons had a house available for $6,000 a month, and Larry applied and was turned down.
Really? For $6,000 a month? But back then, that's quite a hefty amount of money.
Oh, I know, but Doug and Ginger didn't think it was going to last more than one season.
Oh,
and so they ended up renting to an oil man who went bust the very next year. So Ginger told me it was a very bad business decision.
She learned by that mistake.
Exactly.
So how long, I mean, this book it's huge. How long, and it features anybody that's ever set foot or lives in Dallas. How long did it take for you to write this?
Well, I had been writing morning, noon, and night for almost a year, and then I was so heartbroken because I couldn't wait to give Larry Hagman one of the very first copies. And then when he died on November 23rd of last year, I was totally heartbroken. You know, I called everybody I knew and I said, I cannot believe it. It just cannot be true. So then I went to the memorial out at South Fork and I put that in the very beginning. So I felt like the book really became a memorial and a tribute to Larry Hagman, who had done so much for Dallas.
Yeah, he really did. And he was such a wonderful man, wasn't he? Lit up every room that he walked into.
Oh, he was so flirtatious. He absolutely made you feel like you were the best woman that was ever in his company. And I went to the first oil barons ball. We were all extras. And at one point I sat on his lap for a photo opportunity. And I can tell you that that was a really just a phenomenal experience to get to know Larry under that context. And then to see all the others, Patrick Duffy and Linda Gray, and everyone whose personalities were just so unique and really blended with Dallas. They could have been the stars of Dallas. If they had lived here permanently, even before, they would have been the top oil men and socialites in Dallas.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. And I think you say in the book, though, that that actually real life in Dallas was far exceeded what actually was happening on Dallas TV show.
Oh,
it was
absolutely.
And you know, you had, as I said earlier, you had a front row seat to all of that too.
I would see Leonard Katzman around, and I was always tempted to go up to him and I'd say, I know something about Dallas that you don't. And I remember one time kind of getting close to him and saying, you know, there are so many things in Dallas that you all are not putting in there. And he said, lady, this is just fiction. But the nonfiction was so amazing. There were stories going on in Dallas during that whole period that if they had put it in the TV show, it would have made it even more extraordinary than it really was.
And you knew about all those stories, but you couldn't write about them.
Well, I wrote about 80% of what I knew. Because first I worked at the Dallas Morning News and then the Dallas Times-Herald, and they had their standards for what you could write or not write. And, you know, we always shared all kinds of gossip, and we knew a lot about what was going on in Dallas that we could not put in. But the things that I learned when I was writing this book, for example, about Nancy and Jake Hammond, and the story of Twinkle and Bradley Bayou and Norman and Nancy Brinker, it's not exactly what you read in the pages of Texas Monthly or the Dallas Morning News. There was a whole lot more going on behind the scenes and under the surface. And I would tell you that if they had actually put some of that on Dallas, it would have been a 10 times more watched TV show. I think they would have had 1 billion watchers instead of only 90 million.
I'm sure they would. Well, Nancy, you know, I need to read your book and then I need to go and have a glass of wine with you sometime and find out what those stories are because I want to learn more. Well, Nancy, thank you so much for being here. It is a true pleasure and congratulations on your book.
Oh, thank
Dallas
you,
International with J.R. Ewing, and it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble right now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And you can find out more information on dallas1980s.com. And so do go out if you want to learn anything about Dallas. This is it right here. So Nancy, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Remember to keep up with Prime online at onprimetv.com. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And thank you so much to Ali Kush in Snyder Plaza in Dallas for providing me with my really wonderful wardrobe. Go to www.ali-kush.com.